Does Quentin Tarantino mock Bruce Lee in his film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? That is the controversy that's circulating in Hollywood right now. And part of that comes from Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter and the overseer of his estate. She feels like the depiction of her late father is disrespectful and a mockery. Now, for those of you that haven't seen the film, there is a flashback scene where Brad Pitt's character, Cliff Booth, spars with Bruce Lee on the set of The Green Hornet. And in the scene, it's depicted that Brad Pitt can hold his own against Bruce Lee, something that Shannon Lee, his daughter, finds quite offensive. In fact, she wrote after seeing the film in the Los Angeles Times, and she said, and I quote, "I understand this is a Tarantino film and the movie characters are anti-heroes, and this has his characteristic style and is another of his rage fantasies. While I understand that the mechanism of the story is to make Brad Pitt's character out to be a badass that can beat up Bruce Lee, the script treatment of my father as this arrogant, egotistical punching bag was really disheartening and I feel unnecessary." Now, Quentin Tarantino has gone on and he's defended his actions, basically saying Bruce Lee was an arrogant person. Some of the statements that he makes in the film about being able to beat up Muhammad Ali, Tarantino's claiming are things that he actually said, and he actually quotes Bruce Lee's first wife saying that's what she wrote in her biography of him. So what's my take in this controversy? Did I find Bruce Lee to be disrespected and made a mockery in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? No, I did not. In fact, my take was that this fit the overall theme of the film. So if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of the things that Quentin Tarantino has set out to do is to not just romanticize a little bit, but really to humanize and demythologize this late 60s era that he feels came crashing down with the Charles Manson murders. And we see this even with his depiction of Sharon Tate, where instead of really having her be limited by people's knowledge of her through the grisly murder that took place at the hands of Charles Manson's murderer, he wants to humanize and flesh out Sharon Tate to an audience that may not be familiar with her. So we get to spend some time with her throughout the film and to round out what people know and understand about her. And I think that's really what he's trying to do here with Bruce Lee as well. He's trying to humanize him. And so the question becomes, is he disrespectful? I think there's a difference between being respectful and worshipful. And I don't think Quentin Tarantino had in mind that he wanted to portray Bruce Lee in a worshipful way. In fact, Mike Moe, the actor that portrays him, talked about his own conflict with portraying Bruce Lee based upon the script. And he said, I had real difficulty and conflict with this because in his mind, he viewed Bruce Lee as his hero, literally a god. He did not view him as a human. And that's really what Quentin Tarantino has done here. He's presented Bruce Lee with some arrogance. He presented Bruce Lee as being a little bit sensitive. Or dare I say, he presented Bruce Lee as beatable. Things that I really view as humanizing him and fleshing him out versus what people only know of Bruce Lee through his film depictions where, let's face it, he was always the hero. He was able to beat up multiple people at one time. He was unbeatable. And in those brief few minutes in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino is able to present another side of Bruce Lee. Even if it's a flawed or unlikable side, it humanizes him versus making him, what Mike Moe said, a god. Now, I do want to sympathize with Shannon Lee and her family on a couple points. One is I don't blame her for defending any type of depiction of her late father. And so, to me, it makes sense why she would object to Quentin Tarantino's presentation of him, in the same way that I think Quentin Tarantino has every right to depict characters in his films the way that he wants to do, as long as he is held accountable and can give a thoughtful response to that. I don't think Quentin Tarantino in the film disrespects Bruce Lee, but I'm not sure if Quentin Tarantino, the director, has a very limited or dismissive perspective of Bruce Lee. But one thing Shannon Lee did say in one of her interviews is that she feels like Hollywood has continually marginalized and caricatured her late father. And that is something that I would greatly sympathize and agree with her, is that Bruce Lee coming into the television and film industry in the late 60s and early 70s, he really was caricatured. He really probably was exploited from a predominantly white male Hollywood system, and so that they may have really narrowly reduced Bruce Lee only as this one-dimensional kung fu karate action star, I can completely get behind her with that, and I sympathize. And the fact that Quentin Tarantino is portraying a period where Bruce Lee and other actors of Asian descent would really be marginalized and have very limited roles and opportunities, I can sympathize with her, and I fully support her belief that that's what her father endured during his time in Hollywood. So I can certainly sympathize with Shannon Lee. But as to Bruce Lee's depiction in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, my take is, I didn't find it disrespectful, and it didn't change my view at all of Bruce Lee. But I'm curious what you all think. Did you find Quentin Tarantino's decision to portray Bruce Lee as a little bit arrogant, maybe a little bit sensitive, and certainly beatable when it came to hand-to-hand combat? Did you find that disrespectful towards his legacy? Or do you feel like, even if she's well-intentioned and has every right to do, that Shannon Lee's criticism, it doesn't really seem appropriate or valid in this take? Leave your comments below. Also check out our other videos here on Psych Cinema and Shrink Take. That's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Hetterly. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the movies.